Okay, so I'm trying to figure out the best way to film this, but really this is the best I can do, I think, just because of the size of it and the type of camera I'm using. So here it is. This is the completed Arbites Precint, and while this is not the video I was hoping to put out, I'm having some learning curve difficulties, I'll call it, with editing video to come out the way I want, but I do have loads of footage of how I put everything together, and I'll figure out some way to release a video that really covers all that in detail. But for now, I'll just go over what it looks like finished. So I have the basic shape of the precinct house, I think, covered pretty well, with the jutting angular sides and the pillboxes, with the tower in the sort of center, off-center, not quite. And yeah, I'm very happy with how it turned out. And I just wanted to kind of just go over a few of the things that I did just in a quick video. So, as I said, I was using the Bastion, so there is a 1.5 Bastion kit right there. I've just added an extra level to give it some more height. I did consider a 3rd level, but thought that would just be too much, so I went with 2. I thought the 2 extra levels of gun ports would be fine. The walls are the lower portions of 3 Bastion kits. I was able to squeeze in all the needed space with 3 kits, leaving me enough for 1. That was basically a mandatory requirement, other than a little bit close there to my work area. There's a spot here. Where is it? Oh, it's over here. There was one spot where I wasn't able to quite fill it. The space was just too narrow. I thought about cutting a piece up. I think I actually might have one of these left. Or I was going to, until I just did some shuffling. When I realized I would have to cut it down, I just didn't want to do that. So I did create something to cover it. Now, there's a lot of tape lines from where I did have to use some masking tape on a few spots. These I'm going to figure out a way to go back over and texture the area and just kind of cover it up. I did some of the covering with propaganda posters, just because I wanted some color on these after it was all done. Because when I was done with it, I was quite happy with how it looked, but it was really dark. And even though I can probably go back and do some edge highlighting, and I probably should, I did want to kind of get this project finished and move on to my vampire counts. Also, not just for the sake of getting to the vampire counts, but also just because I do get burnt out fairly quick if I spend too long on a project, and I end up kind of just looking for excuses and ways to get out of it. The other thing that will be changing are the bunkers. I mean, more than happy with how they look overall, especially at a distance. Up close, they're quite rough, but it's because I did hand make them with just some foam board and some hot glue, essentially, and then a textured spray. But I'm going to get my FDM printer up at some point and just print off some bunkers. I do have some nice files now. I just need to get some silicone grease to do up the Z-rods. It's just been so long since I've used that printer that I don't want to just assume that it's okay. So I'm gonna do some maintenance on it, and then I'll print out new things to replace these. The gate, I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. I did use some hinges to go with the Pegasus Techno Bridge or whatever it's called. I don't even know if they make it anymore, but yeah, it goes down nice and smooth, it goes up smoothly and stays, and it does create, for the most part, I think, a reasonable barrier. I might add some of the side railings to here, just so that it does fill in that gap area, but Again, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Size-wise, you can see that the walls are quite favorably sized the way I did them, so that the men can be behind them or get up to these little gun port areas. I mean, in play, I always play for fun. I'm not going to have some sort of, and you have to draw a line of sight. I'm not that kind of guy unless there's, really obvious line of sight issues, seeing through a bunker. No, you have to get in the bunker. There's room for like 12, maybe 15 infantry inside one of there, actually. So these are quite roomy. I'm happy about that. The tower, again, looks good, just with some black and gold and a few little spots of red and green for lights. The only thing I will do with this, I will get some weathering so I can get some, like, some grime dripping down it, but I was thinking about also painting up more of the metal, but I just didn't want to do all that kind of detail work. I prefer the idea of this stuff's all built and then it's painted, and nobody's going back and like touching up the metal or making sure it's covered. I mean, military equipment, you tend to just, spray it. You get it covered in coats of paint. I mean, when you look at tanks and military buildings, there's very seldom, unless it has to be, uncovered. There's very seldom places that don't get covered in paint. I mean, as a young guy, I was an Army cadet, so I spent a lot of time on Army bases, and yeah, it doesn't matter where you were. The Army bases were all the same. I mean, the windows were all painted up to and including every hinge and whatnot on them. So, yeah, I can't see this being something somebody would have painted separately. I'm sure it would look pretty snazzy if I did do it. Something to consider for later. But for now, I just wanted to pick out, the Aquilas and the barrels and stuff. Just overall go with minimal detailing, just so that it all looks, just nice. Actually, I may go back and do these skulls looking at them again. The eyes, I might go and make the eyes red or green or something. Some more different posters I found. And yeah, it's like 27 by 24 roughly. Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less. But it's a huge piece. It takes up like an entire center of a 6x4 board. It's 2 square feet in the center, essentially. And it goes over ever so slightly. And yeah, I'm very happy with it. And I think that this is going to be both nice looking, meet the standards that I set for myself with wanting an homage piece for the Cityfight Codex. It's going to look good with my 1/22nd Cadians defending it. And I'm just thinking it's going to be fun to play on, too. I mean, this is going to be something that, with its height, it is actually a nice barrier and line of sight blocker in that sense. Again, like I said, I think play-wise, shooting out of it, line of sight is not going to be a big deal. It's just assume that they're, pointing their rifles or bolt guns or whatever over the sides. Or that, these will slide down to accommodate heavy weapons, things like that. But it'll still be a great thing in the middle to stop those, like, big, long shots from going across the board and force people to actually move about. So, yeah, I'm really happy with it all. I think it turned out pretty good. And, oh yeah, and I did just toss on some hatches to the backs of these bunkers so that they have something, plastic to them. That was sort of the goal, was to get as much plastic on here as possible, and just to add that one extra bit of detail. So yeah, if you have any thoughts on this or any comments, for sure I'd love to hear them. And everybody have yourselves a great day. Thanks very much for watching.